Zaggy was walking home when he saw something moving in the forest. Two glowing eyes, a huge shadow, and then it disappeared. Zaggy ran. The next morning, he tried explaining what he'd seen. Nobody believed him. So Zaggy drew the creature from memory. Big teeth, claws, horns, a giant body. By the time he finished, he had accidentally created something that looked like a monster. But then, Zaggy started wondering, why do humans keep doing this? Across history, people from completely different societies have told stories about dragons, giants, sea monsters, demons, and other terrifying creatures. These creatures aren't real, but the fear behind them is. So why does the human brain keep turning things we don't understand into monsters? And the answer starts with one of the oldest survival abilities we have.
Zaggy decided to find out. He started with the simplest question. What would make someone believe that a monster was nearby? So that night, he went back into the forest. This time, he carried a torch. Everything looked completely different. A tree branch suddenly looked like a giant claw. A pair of glowing eyes appeared between the bushes. Zaggy froze. Then the eyes moved. He grabbed his torch and stepped closer. It was just a deer. Zaggy laughed, but then he realized something important. In the darkness, his brain had filled in the missing information. He couldn't clearly see the animal, so his brain made a quick guess. And when you're living thousands of years ago, without electric lights, cameras, or scientific explanations, you would have spent a lot more time dealing with incomplete information. A strange noise in the forest, a huge shadow, eyes glowing in the darkness, something moving in the water. Your brain doesn't know what it is, but it knows one thing: it might be dangerous. And that is exactly where monsters begin.
Zaggy went back to his drawing. If his brain could turn a harmless deer into a monster, maybe humans had been doing the same thing for thousands of years. So he tried something. He started drawing animals. A snake, an eagle, a crocodile, a lion. Then Zaggy began combining them. He gave the snake the size of a crocodile. The crocodile got the teeth of a lion. The lion got wings. And suddenly, he had a dragon. Zaggy stared at the drawing. The creature was completely imaginary, but almost every part of it had come from something real. And that might explain something important about monsters. Humans don't usually invent frightening creatures from nothing. We take things we already understand and combine them in ways we've never seen before. Sharp teeth, claws, horns, wings, huge bodies. These are all features that already exist in nature. And when you combine enough dangerous features together, you get something our brains instantly recognize as terrifying. But Zaggy wasn't satisfied. He had another question. What if some monster stories didn't come from imagination at all? What if people actually found something strange? Imagine living thousands of years ago. You're walking through the ground when you discover a gigantic bone. It's enormous. You've never seen an animal that could have bones this large. You don't know about dinosaurs. You don't know about extinction. You don't know about fossils. So what would you think? Maybe a giant creature once lived here. Maybe it still lives somewhere far away. Maybe there are creatures hiding beyond the edge of your world. We can't say that every ancient monster story came from fossils. There simply isn't enough evidence for that. But fossils would have been incredibly strange discoveries for people without modern science. And humans hate unexplained things. When we find something we don't understand, we try to create an explanation. Sometimes that explanation is scientific. Sometimes. But even a strange discovery doesn't automatically become a monster story. It needs something else. A storyteller. Imagine Zaggy tells 10 people about the giant creature he thinks he saw. The first person adds one detail. The second makes it bigger. Someone else gives it enormous teeth. Another person says it lives in a cave, and someone decides it can only be defeated with fire. Nobody necessarily has to be lying. The story simply changes as people remember it and retell it. And this is one reason myths can become so powerful. The most memorable details survive. A giant creature is easier to remember than a boring one. A monster with glowing eyes is easier to describe. A creature with a weakness makes a better story. And once enough people repeat the same story, the creature becomes part of the culture. Now children hear about it, adults warn them about it, artists draw it,